changing one moment in college football history to impact the entire sport. A lot of you couldn't help but go to 2012. And frankly, my mind went there pretty quickly too. Because we're trying to have a big impact on the sport. Well, what happened in 2012? Well, Mark Richt is at Georgia. Saban's, of course, at Alabama. They play in the SEC championship game. Now, young JP is holding it down in Columbus, well, just north of Columbus in Fortson. And so we're right on the border. We're right on the Chattahoochee River. And so it's like a dream scenario down there around where I'm from. Anytime either Auburn in Georgia or Bama in Georgia are playing, it's just so crazy that time of week and that time of year. And they play in the SEC championship game. And it's an instant classic going back and forth. I think Georgia had a 21-10 lead after a blocked punt at one point. So anyway, Bama takes the lead 32-28. McCarron to Amari Cooper, big-time touchdown. Aaron Murray's driving the Dogs down the field. And they get down inside the 10-yard line. There's 15 seconds to go. And you remember what happened? Yeah? No? Maybe some of you are young. Well, the clock's running, and Georgia's not spiking it, and Murray looks out wide. Ball's tipped, falls to the ground. Robert Lester makes the tackle there, and Georgia's 5 yards away from the end zone. Clock runs out. Crimson and white confetti falls to the Georgia Dome, the late Georgia Dome. God bless the Georgia Dome, too. And there goes Alabama off to splatter Notre Dame all over Miami for a national championship. What if I change that? What if I change that moment? What if I clock the ball? What if the ball falls incomplete? What if Georgia has one more play and they throw it to the end zone, touchdown, Dogs win? There are few truths and few certainties in this world, but I feel pretty darn certain that Georgia would have handled business against Notre Dame. Now, I want you to think again. Bama's on the other side of this equation somehow. They're fine. This wouldn't have impacted Alabama in my mind very much at all. But what would it have done for Georgia? Because Mark Richt was out of there. 3 years later, 13, 14, 15, I think 16. Yeah, 16 was Smart's first year. So that was 2012. 2015 was the last year for Mark Richt. You're certainly not giving him the boot if he's locked down a national championship. In fact, the entire reason for giving him the boot is the going narrative around him was he's good enough to be good, but he's not good enough to make us great. We got to go find a guy who will take us to the next level, and for their credit, they have done that at Georgia. But if they had a national championship in their back pocket, all of a sudden, where's Kirby Smart? Now, I don't think Kirby Smart would have been at Alabama all that much longer than he was anyway. I think Kirby Smart eventually would have taken a head coaching job. It's just that it would have been South Carolina. In fact, I think Georgia, it's pretty well known at this point, Georgia moved when they did because they knew that South Carolina was probably about to get Kirby Smart. Because Kirby was beyond ready for a head coaching job. He was turning down offers before even that cycle. And so the South Carolina job's available, and it looks like that's going to happen. And Kirby Smart's represented by the right guy. And so Kirby Smart ends up with the head coaching job at Georgia. That job's not coming open. Point blank, I'm telling you, it's not coming open if Georgia were to win that 2012 SEC championship game. So then it could very well be that Kirby Smart just ends up at Georgia sometime down the road anyway. I don't know what would have happened to Mark Richt, but think about how differently we talk about him. See, right now, Kirby Smart, to me, has already become a legendary figure at Georgia, even though he's not 50 years old yet, because he did the thing that hardly anyone else for a few generations could do. No one else could do. That's win the title. He was the first one, post-Dooley, to win the title there. That could have been Mark Richt. It's a game of inches. The margins are so narrow, so thin. In fact, even after that happened, I was in the very infancy of dipping my toe into the water of sports talk radio in Columbus, Georgia at the time, 1580 The Zone. And I can't tell you for how many months afterwards we took calls of people saying, see, that's proof that Mark Richt can't win the big one. And that's probably where my philosophy around the difference between can't and haven't was formed. Because even at the time, I'm dumb about everything. I'm ignorant to just about everything. Some would argue I still am, but even I would agree I was at that point. But even I knew, even rookie JP knew he was there. What do you mean he can't? Because Mark Richt is on the sideline, that ball found its way into a receiver's hands instead of falling. It's just nonsense. That's not the way sports work. And so I remember thinking how dumb that was at that point, but it didn't matter because that was sentiment. And sentiment eventually kind of bleeds up to the decision makers, and have long since explained to you how impacted people who make decisions are, especially the ones who claim that that has no impact on their decision. It has all the impact in the world.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.